Good morning, sir. Good morning, classmates. I'm Jastin and my report will be about BPO transition. Business process outsourcing is the practice of contracting a specific work process or processes to an external service provider. The services can include payroll, accounting, telemarketing, data recording, social media marketing, customer support, and more. BPO transition is one of the most important roles in any organization that performs outsourcing or offshoring. Transition management is the process of migrating knowledge systems and operating capabilities between an outsourcing environment to an in-house staff or vice versa. The transition phase of the BPO lifecycle is a true turning point in the BPO project. The organization is now implementing changes that heretofore had only been talked about. The rumors and fears that are often associated with the pre-operational BPO phases have now given way to real changes in organizational workflow, personnel, policies, and procedures. The BPO Project Management Plan. The formal contract between BPO buyer and vendor has been signed and sealed. As discussed in Chapter 6, the BPO contract is a detailed document that includes service level agreements that specify the level of expected performance on defined organizational processes. At the same time, the BPO contract does not provide the flexibility and responsiveness required to manage an ongoing project. For that, we recommend the development of a separate document that we call the Project Management Plan. A project management plan is a formal document that defines how a project is going to be carried out. It outlines the scope, goals, budget, timeline, and deliverables of a project, and is essential for keeping a project on track. Project planning plays an essential role in helping guide stakeholders, sponsor teams, and the project manager through other project phases. Planning is needed to identify desired goals, reduce risk, avoid missed deadlines, and ultimately deliver the agreed product, service, or result. Without careful planning, project performance is almost certainly guaranteed to suffer. The Project Management Institute estimates that as of 2017, organizations were wasting an average of $97 million for every $1 billion invested due to poor project performance. The project management plan will include change provisions to enable adjustment over time. Individual or team. Developing a formal project management plan requires that the buyer and vendor each assign a dedicated team or at minimum a dedicated internal BPO champion to design the plan, manage the project on an ongoing basis and implement changes as needed. Many firms vest the responsibility for the BPO project in a single individual, whom we have designated as the BPO champion. Others prefer to vest the responsibility in a project management team. The choice is not merely one of preference. There are several factors to consider in deciding between an individual or team approach to managing the BPO project. Although this function adds short-term cost to the outsourcing project, it will usually prove to be less costly in the long run because issues can be anticipated, managed, and controlled before they become major problems. However, a team-based approach can lead to problems of accountability if there are no one-to-one links between individuals and discrete project managements. That is, even when a team approach is used, individual team members should be assigned clear responsibilities for aspects of the project, and they should have clear reporting channels. A hybrid approach that may be used to alleviate the potential for the diffusion of accountability is to assign a BPO champion who has the responsibility of developing a project management team. With this approach, the BPO project management responsibility remains clearly with the BPO champion, who is held accountable for the performance of the project. We recommend this approach and we call the resulting team the Project Management Team, PMT. The PMT should consist of individuals representing a range of organizational functions, including individuals from each firm. Just as with the BPO Analysis Team, BAT, and Vendor Selection Team, VST, cross-functional representation on the PMT ensures a diverse skill set. Exhibit 7.1 highlights some of the issues to consider in making a decision to vest project management responsibility in a team or in an individual. General Principles of Change Management. When your organization undertakes projects or initiatives to improve performance, seize opportunities, or address key issues, they often require changes. Changes to processes, job roles, or organizational structures and types of uses of school technology. However, It is the employees of the organization who must ultimately change how they do their jobs. If these individuals are unsuccessful in their personal transitions, if they don't embrace and learn a new way of working, the initiative will fail. If employees embrace and adopt changes required by the initiative, it will deliver the expected results. Change management is a collective term for all approaches to prepare, support, and help individuals, teams, and organizations in making organizational change. Creating a compelling vision. It is up to the managers creating the vision to determine how much detail is required to tell a story that is compelling enough to drive high performance. Creating a compelling vision means that it is compelling for the employees. The leaders must capture the hearts of the employees. Every company is a story, and every employee wants to feel like an important part of the story. Clarity on the outcome of a difficult and challenging project helps people establish a sense of flow and ownership that can lead to high levels of performance under difficult circumstances. Managing a BPO transition requires placing the project in the context of the bigger picture, including the likely future state of the organization and its people. Exhibit 7.3 shows the five basic elements that must be present to make storytelling an effective technique for leading change. Leadership and management roles. Management consists of controlling a group or a set of entities to accomplish a goal. Leadership refers to an individual's ability to influence, motivate, and enable others to contribute toward organizational success. Influence and inspiration separate leaders from managers, not power and control. With that said, it is possible to provide some useful recommendations into how leaders and managers differ in their respective roles during the transition and operating phases of a BPO project. Managers are needed to help guide these new ways of doing things into the organization's overall workflow. Leaders are needed to hold the organizations together with steadfast vision, and courage. Individuals within the organization not displaced by the BPO project may harbor beliefs that it is only a matter of time before their jobs are outsourced. There is no managerial bromide that can be applied to eliminate the sense of loss people will feel if friends are displaced. It may help to envision the role of the manager during the transition phase of the BPO life cycle if we develop a scenario that reflects what might be occurring in a typical workplace. Exhibit 7.4 is a short story illustrating common employee reactions to organizational change. Managers must deal with the changes introduced into the organization by the BPO project with realism and determination. Sugarcoating an obvious organizational shift toward headcount reduction and cost containment through BPO will only add to the rumors and anxiety. During times of transformational organizational change, many managers mistakenly attempt to paint a rosy picture despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Honest communication with everyone about the goals of the company, the likely outcomes of a BPO implementation, and the steps the organization is taking to help workers deal with the change is the best practice technique for managers to follow. Motivational experts can now agree that when it comes to managing people at work, honesty really is usually the best policy. As the case study indicates, the outsourcing culture rewards leaders who collaborate and communicate. As the BPO transition unfolds, manager will encounter some individuals who will attempt to obstruct the BPO project. Obstruction can occur in two ways, overt and covert. The term overt means visible or apparent. The term covert means hidden or concealed. Overt behaviors can be observed. Covert behaviors cannot be observed. Overt behaviors are in the form of actions or verbal expressions. They are fairly easy to deal with. Overt obstructionists are vocal, identifying themselves as being opposed to a BPO project. They can be dealt with directly common disciplinary and motivational tactics. It is the covert obstructionists who are the most insidious. They oppose change but work quietly in their obstructionist efforts. This can include direct sabotage, but covert obstructionists are usually more cunning. They impede progress on a change effort by omission rather than commission. They withhold key information or data that they know would aid the transition process. They do not offer helpful information unless directly asked. Managers can deal with overt obstructionists but only after they have rooted them out. Companies that undertake BPO projects are most often those that already have experience with transformational change. Leaders are prone to shield themselves from negative reactions by asserting that the decision to use a BPO approach is a matter of organizational survival in a highly competitive economy. The decision was beyond anyone's control. Although that may be true, it has the ring of cowardice about it. Far better for the leader to proclaim the BPO strategy as a carefully laid plan that stands to generate compelling advantages for the organization and its employees. Leaders simply cannot shrink from the need to articulate a vision during times of transformational change. Overall, change is difficult and often requires that people tolerate pain in the short term. This is made easier by leaders who are able to help people paint a mental picture of a future that will be better and more satisfying than the present. Communicating with employees. Effective communication with employees is vital to the BPO transition. A lack of communication from managers to employees does not mean a lack of a communication within the organization. Effective communication helps employees understand how they can align their professional goals with that of the organization. They can understand how they can fit into a bigger picture. Effective communication with employees is vital to the BPO transition process. If the space is not filled with deliberate, optimistic, and directed messages from leadership, it will be filled by rumors, gossip, and speculation from the employees. People need to understand their environment and will set up for half-baked speculative explanations if no better alternatives are available. Effective employee communication begins with a simple notion: honesty. Honesty is the best policy, not only because it is technically correct, but also because half-truths and lies will ultimately destroy morale and productivity. At the same time, blunt honesty is a rarely useful strategy. When asked about the results of a person's weight loss effort, the savvy respondents give the aspiring weight loser an answer that does not offend, rather than the bluntly honest one. This is called common sense. Managing culture beyond the outsourced process. Beyond the organizational units immediately affected by the BPO project are employees who are friends, relatives, and acquaintances of those affected. BPO project managers must not overlook the ripple effects that are created by outsourcing and the threat that others might feel from witnessing the introduction of BPO into neighboring work units. In addition to the heightened sense of insecurity that may arise, there will be more concerns about workload issues and day-to-day business continuity. In managing the BPO transition as it affects units beyond the outsourced activity, the story has immense value. A consistent story will help quell the armor mill and alleviate confusion and misunderstanding. Managing job loss and changeover. Managing job loss and changeover is assuredly amongst the most difficult challenges that managers face. No matter what the cause of upheaval, whether the anticipated job displacement includes termination or shifting responsibilities, the reaction is predictable. Some will rush for the exit, others will cower and hope for the best, others will fight, and some will simply deny reality. Each of these reactions to the prospect of outsourcing must be managed, and the good news is, each of these can be managed. A thorough analysis of the cost of a BPO project will include projected job losses and job shifts. The list of individuals targeted for termination should be carefully guarded. Managers should receive thorough training on the procedures that will be used with a terminated employee. The reduction in force (RIF) plan should consider the options available to reduce the impact of the displacement of employee. For example, early retirement programs may be an option for senior employees. Business continuity and benchmarking. The final consideration in managing the BPO transition is to ensure business continuity throughout the process. It is to be expected that performance indicators for the outsourced process are likely to be down or flat during the early stages of the transition. It might also occur that processes tightly linked to the outsourced process will also experience performance difficulties during this phase. Despite the expected performance dips, managers should have detailed performance benchmarks that provide a means of judging an extent of the effect and whether intervention is required. Reasonable transition phase only benchmarks should be adopted and carefully monitored. Managers should be ready to intervene only when performance falls below the benchmark value, and they should be equally vigilant to stay the course and allow employees to learn and improve the new system through the transition. Managers should be ready to intervene only when performance falls below the benchmark value, and they should be equally vigilant to stay the course and allow employees to learn and improve the new system through the transition.